Well, the first thing you have to get past is ego. Like before anybody is ready to be coached, they have to be in a coachable state. And ego often is the hurdle to that. So it's difficult with business owners because it's their business. Who knows it better than they do, right?
Right. I mean, that's why a lot of people have their own businesses.
100%.
You have to have a little bit of ego in it. Right?
Yeah.
Otherwise, you wouldn't be starting your own thing.
Yeah.
Right. It's that drive, right?
Yep. Like what was the pain point that you saw that you're like, hey, this is a need. I'm going to fill the need. And this is why it matters.
Having a lot of friends that are running these businesses, hearing the horror stories of spending $40,000 on an operating coach when they're 6 months in business, right? They can't afford that.
Right.
They're being taken advantage of ultimately. And then you get the influencer coaches who come in and promise you the moon, and you buy their expensive program and realize they have no idea what they're talking about, but it's too late. You've already bought in, right?
I am Brandon Johnson.
I'm Tyler Recla, and this is the Synergy Code Podcast. Today, we have a special guest, Sterling Crawford. He is the founder and CEO of the Boise Impact Group. Idaho native, spent, how long have you been here? How old are you?
That's the guessing game. I'm 37 as of yesterday.
There you go.
Officially.
So where are you from? You from Boise?
Born and raised here. I was born on the Mountain Home Air Force Base, actually. So,
right on. Yeah. There you go. So we got a Boise native here, starting a local business. So tell me a little bit about the Boise Impact Group.
Yeah. So in short, we're building out a business college for all you guys out there who need to learn what you don't know, essentially, at the end of the day. But the cool kicker is it's not like one mind, one guy telling you somehow magically you know everything about business. Like, I don't know if you guys have seen the influence coachers.
The masterminds.
Yeah. So they're like, some 19-year-old kid's going to tell you about sales and then operations and risk management and legal issues and all that stuff in your business. I don't see that being a reality ultimately at the end of the day. I've never experienced it being a reality, but in education, 23 years. And with that, I've built out some pretty cool programs, and all of them, you want to learn from the experts, right? You want to learn baseball, you learn from the best coaches.
Totally.
You want to learn how to fight, you learn from people who are winning fights, not from people who are losing fights.
Like Floyd Mayweather from our last episode for my Mount Rushmore. Thank you for that little plug there, Sterling.
I got you,
we won't get into that.
I may or may not have watched the podcast.
But we don't need to get into that. So you said you've been in education how long?
23 years.
So what does that mean? What were you doing before the Impact Group?
Yeah, so that's a great question. This is my 7th business so far. My biggest claim to fame that Red Bull is kicking in.
It is.
Claim to fame ultimately is I built out an academy in Nampa that I ran for 11 years. And we had 14 full-time programs, including like athletic programs, your academics. We had family development stuff as well. Parent coachings. We had therapy and counseling on site as well. We had homeschool programs and daycare programs and a bunch of other stuff. So really became a staple ultimately in the community for family development. And with that, I got to experience a vast range of what education looks like, but more important, what education is effective. And I kind of came up with this concept ultimately of a 3-stage system for education. The first is where most programs stop is concept and principle. They want to talk about the thing, tell you to go read a book, and then say good luck. Inevitably, you're going to fail. And when they come back to you, you're going to be like, well, what did you not get? Right.
So what is that part of the steps, is understanding that concept?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
What are I guess let's go over the 3 steps.
Correct. So the other two, concepts and principles is first. You have to talk about the thing.
Okay. Yeah, makes sense.
Have a understanding of terminology and all that other stuff. The second is the tailored application. So you have to understand who you're working with, who you're coaching or educating, to know how to work with them ultimately, right? I'm going to equate this to martial arts. You're not going to take somebody who's 5'2" and 350 pounds and put them in a Taekwondo program where they're jumping in the air doing 540 reverse hook kicks to the head.
I hope not.
Right?
We'd have a few issues.
That'd be interesting.
Yeah. But you have to understand who you're working
That's
with.
like
right?
old school UFC right there.
Yeah,
Just throw everybody in there and see what happens.
Yes. You get it.
Yep.
We could talk about that.
More blood than sweat.
Yeah. You got the what was the first one? You got that big dude's like 400 pounds against a little guy in the gi. It wasn't Butterbean, but it was somebody else. But he was like big 400 pounds chasing a guy that was like maybe 180 pounds.
Oh,
that's great. Sign me up for that.
Yeah.
That sounds great.
Good time.
Yeah. And then the third step and the final step is like testing for results. You want to make sure you're getting to the goal, but more important, taking it to the next step of teaching. So I think if you're learning, you almost have an obligation to pass the torch to the next generation. And so if I could equate this to like baseball, for example, is if you put your kid into a baseball program, imagine the coach giving your 6-year-old kid a book on baseball and saying, I want you to read this from front to back, understand all the concepts and principles into it, because next week you're going to apply it on the field. And then they come out to take their first swing. What's going to happen?
Right.
They're going to miss.
Yeah.
And then the coach, instead of being like, hey, great try. What did you learn from the book? Let's get after it again. If they come at your kid and they're like, what are you not getting about baseball? You read the book, didn't you?
Yeah.
That's most business coaching.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And given the experience that I have, it's very prominent that we learn kinesthetically. So it's hands-on skill building, telling someone how to mow the lawn versus showing them how to mow the lawn versus teaching them how to mow the lawn, like actually putting their hands on the mower, getting them up and down the grass. That's where they really build the skill and the habit ultimately.
So at what point, so you go through the steps, at what point is somebody ready for like that third step?
Oh yeah, great question. So there's a whole phase to this. I'm always testing.
I guess go ahead and start with like what point is someone ready for the first phase, the second phase, and third phase, and so on. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the first thing you have to get past is ego. Like before anybody is ready to be coached, they have to be in a coachable state. And ego often is the hurdle to that. So it's difficult with business owners because it's their business. Who knows it better than they do, right?
Right. I mean, that's why a lot of people have their own businesses.
100%.
You have to have a little bit of ego in it. Right?
Yeah.
Otherwise, you wouldn't be starting your own thing.
Yeah.
Right. It's that drive, right?
Yep.
And most of the time, I know I definitely felt this as like working for a guy, being like, I could do it better.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm a terrible employee for that.
Right. I mean, I think that's why we're all here today, right? Like, we've all been in that situation.
Yeah.
I know I have. That's why I'm doing my own thing.
Yeah.
It's like, I know what could be done better.
Yeah.
I'm going to do that thing.
100%. So, and there's different ways and tactics to get people in a coachable state. I'll use a story. This used to happen all the time. And one of the programs that I ran was a martial art program. And I loved like the 40-year-old guy who would come in and I was like, man, I grew up fighting with my brothers. You know, I fought on the street. I know how to fight. And I'm like, okay, awesome. Let's get you in some gloves and let's see what you could do. And first lesson always in fighting is keep your hands up, right? Mm-hmm. And inevitably they're like, no, I'm good. And so then you pop them in the face and they're like, oh, all right. Like, what's going on? Keep your hands up.
Everyone's got a plan until they get punched in the nose, right?
Yeah. Like Tyson quote. Yeah. And so you watch that guy go from like, I know how to fight to all of a sudden the hands come up.
Yeah.
I know that they're coachable, right? But if I'm punching them in the face for an hour and they refuse to put their hands up, they're not ready to learn yet. So they're just going to keep getting beat up ultimately. And sometimes that's required to really work through the ego and get into that state of vulnerability. You got to get kicked in the nuts a few times.
Yep, yeah, for sure. Yeah. So going like step 3. Like
testing.
When does somebody get to that point? Like how they've gone through step 1, step 2. Like when do they get into that? Yeah.
So it totally depends on the person, right? Okay. Like because we all have our own path, our own journey. There's some people that I've worked with in the past that it just never seemed to click. There was like resistance. They weren't able to apply it and get the results that they were looking for. And giving that effort over and over and over, realize, you know what? Let's just throw them in the hot seat. Let's see what's actually sticking.
Well, so give me like a kind of a specific example. Do you have any sort of like industry or customer that you can think of that you worked with, like
on the coaching side?
Yeah, on that coaching side.
Yeah,
any stories you can tell about that?
Yeah, guys who are super analytical. Like they have
like that engineer brain.
They have to know from start to finish every perfect little detail before they make a decision for themselves, right? But then you put them in the teacher seat and you're like, oh, hey, I want you to share what you learned last week with this person this week. And it's a different personality type that comes out. And so for themselves, it's a lot harder to actually jump and make that decision. But in teaching other people, they start to see their own faults. And usually what I notice in that moment is they'll come back to me afterwards and be like, I think I'm in my own way. Yeah. And I'm like, yes, you are.
So how do you break through that? Do you just let them kind of come to their own conclusion and be like, we'll get there when they get there? Or are you trying to like force your way through?
There's always a little push, man. It's like raising kids, right? Like you got to have some boundaries up for sure. Yeah. You don't want to push them too hard, but you want to nudge them in the right direction. So a good coach, a good educator, a good mentor that you're working with is always thinking the next chapter ahead of you. And there's a goal in mind of where they're trying to get you to. If you have somebody that you just feel like they're just throwing spaghetti on the wall until something sticks, probably not an experienced mentor or coach that you want to work with. Unless you guys are like just best friends and figuring out together, then do what you can, I guess.
Go for it and figure it out, sort of thing.
But if you're paying good money, man, you want somebody who knows what they're doing. So
who would need, like, who's someone that would need a business coach? Like, why would somebody need a coach?
Honestly, anybody who's running a business. Yeah. And I mean that. I'm not a big fan of giant blanket statements per se. Yeah. Like I hear from a lot of realtors, like, who are you looking to help? Anybody looking to buy a house. And I'm like, okay, I don't even know how to start with that, right? Yeah. But when I say like any business owner, really there's phases to business. If you're in startup mode, you need to learn the startup things. How do you structure a business? When do you hire your first employee? Like, what's your systems and processes that you're putting into place to actually fulfill the sales that you're getting? How do you even go get sales? These are all like early business things. But once you graduate out of that space, for lack of better words, and now you have an actual functioning running business, how do you scale that bad boy? And then how do you hire appropriate teams, implement culture into the business? How do you actually understand what mission, vision, core values are, and then add that into the business plan that you have? If you don't have a business plan at that point, great part to start implementing that ultimately. So, but when you get into the later stages of business, if you're 5 to 10 million plus, you're not really worried about those early stage problems anymore. Yeah. You're in a different pool. Yeah. But it's good to learn from somebody who's been there before, somebody who's done it before, to help maybe save you a little bit of time, energy, pain, honestly, the headache. Absolutely.
But sometimes you got to invest money in order to make money. And the aspect is you got to invest in yourself. Right. Well, so the whole point of like the Boise Impact Group that drives their interest into it is it's an investment up front, but the ROI that you get back on it is that you get all this education, all this connection with industry like-minded individuals, and correct me if I'm wrong, but your board of directors.
Totally.
And can you go into those board of directors? Like, why is it important about the board of directors and you and what you bring to the threshold of the companies that you're looking for that would benefit from the Boise Impact Group?
Well, earlier I had mentioned like what I see a lot of are like these one-man programs, right? One guy magically knows everything about business that's going to help you in all stages of business, although he sold real estate before. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't correlate. So when I built my school out, I was very adamant about working with individuals who had earned the expert title. So those guys were like 10 plus years in their specialty, if that makes sense. And then with that, there's social proof accreditations and things that come with that, right? So when it comes to business, if you hire a sales coach, they're probably not positioned to help you with like organizational structure, litigation issues, risk management stuff, finances even. They could help fuel your business with sales, but then what? What's the next stage? And I see that a lot. There's a lot of sales coaches out there and sales programs out there that put all this fuel on the fire to bring people into your business. And it actually ends up collapsing the business because the owner doesn't know how to handle it.
Just it scales too quickly.
Oh, 100%, right? And that coach that you hired is not in a position to help you with it. They might kind of fumble and try to help you as best they can. And of course, there's the rarity of somebody who does understand that, right? But that one man, one mind is not really ideal unless you're hiring specific, if you have a roadmap, I'm going to hire a sales coach, and then I'm going to hire like a operating coach, and then I'm going to hire like a scaling coach, right? If you have a plan in place as a business owner, great. Most don't though. So what I formatted was a board of directors that represent all the pillars of business. So again, like sales and marketing, you have your operations, you have your finances. Those people that sit on the board have represented that vertical, if you will, for about 20 to 30 years. And with it being Boise Impact Group, they're all local experts as well. Granted, they work globally. Like a good example is our VP of the board, Allison Dunn. She's been accredited through multiple national programs, as well as recognized through global programs for being top 10 executive coach in the world. Oh, wow. So that's cool. Definitely a power player. She does a lot, but she's very focused in on what she does and who she helps as well. So having that ability to learn from experts in their own field as a business owner is really awesome.
That's super cool.
Yeah.
So what drove you to go from what you were before Boise Impact Group to bring 7 subject matter experts to one spot under one umbrella of the Boise Impact Group brand to help the Boise business group? Like what was the pain point that you saw that you're like, hey, this is a need, I'm going to fill the need, and this is why it matters?
Yeah. Great question. So there's a little two-parter to that. To answer your question about like what motivated me. So being born and raised here in Idaho, these are my friends running the businesses around me. And Idaho has grown a lot over the last couple of years, very rapid. And that presented some new challenges with that growth, right? A lot of people are starting business for the first time in their life. And a lot of people are bringing business to Idaho, right? Because they want to capture or capitalize on the growth ultimately, right? So it's kind of created this perfect storm of people who don't quite yet know what they're doing and people coming to Idaho that don't quite understand how we do business in Idaho. And having traveled a lot, Idaho is very unique. We still honor the handshake. You still see tractors driving down the road. So when you get outside businesses coming here to like make us better, for lack of better words, Idaho is very resistant to that. We don't want to change, right? But growth is change. And so that kind of opened up my eyes of how things were being conducted. But having a lot of friends that are running these businesses, hearing the horror stories of spending $40,000 on an operating coach when they're 6 months in business, right? They can't afford that. They're being taken advantage of ultimately. And then you get the influencer coaches who come in and promise you the moon, and you buy their expensive program and realize they have no idea what they're talking about, but it's too late. You've already bought in, right? And so I'm watching my friends being taken advantage of, being sold the hope and the carrots, for lack of better words, of join my group and you'll be making $1 million in a year. You can't promise that because you don't know, right? And then a lot of the programs that I went through myself, again, I saw them stop at that first stage of education, which is just concept and principles. It's very spaghetti on the wall. It's very surface level, and no one stops to ask you questions. Like I've been at events where people get in front of the room and spend 45 minutes telling you about how amazing they are through all their accomplishments and look how awesome I am. And oh gosh, I'm almost out of time. Here's how you get a hold of me. Where's the value in that, right? So I wanted to challenge that. Part two to answer your question is I've done it before. This is how I built my school. I ran it for 11 years in Nampa, and I found experts in their fields that wanted to work and aligned with our mission ultimately, and let them do what they do best, right? Martial arts is a great example. It was one of the more popular programs that I had in the school. And with that, if you guys have ever been into a martial arts school, it's usually one instructor and one style. And it's their way or the highway. And there's a lot of ego when it comes to fighting. And so that's not how I jive. And my little backstory real fast. I was like state champion and doing some cool stuff in a program in my teens. And when I stepped outside of that program to try to learn something new, realized I literally knew nothing, like literally nothing. I walked into a school with my state championship shirt. I had my bag. I was 19 years old, and I was like, I'm the biggest, baddest dude here. I'm going to fight all you guys, right? What's that?
What were you state champion in?
Taekwondo.
Oh, right.
Yeah. Nice. And then I walked into a Wing Chun Kung Fu school, and there was like 5 people there. And I was like, what the hell is this thing, right?
Yeah.
So I throw my bag down, and I'm like, I'm here to fight. And they were like, great. You're here for fight night. Perfect. So I step up, and literally the first dude I fought, just jeans and a t-shirt, I'm not exaggerating, wiped the floor with me. Threw me down, drug me across the concrete, wiped the floor with me. And I was pissed. Yeah. And so I had to stand up. This was my ego check, right?
And you're like 19 at this point?
Oh, yeah. Fueled with testosterone.
That's the best time to get your ego checked.
Down. You can't be wrong. Yeah.
Dude, so I got my butt kicked the whole night. The instructor at the time, he was nice enough to invite me out to dinner afterwards. And he was like, hey, we're all going across the street. Why don't you join us? And we're just chatting it up during dinner. And I asked the guy, I was like, dude, you embarrassed me today. How long have you been fighting? 2 months. And I was like, wait, what? And he was like, yeah, just 2 months. I was like, what'd you do before? And he was like, I've never fought before. And I was like, wow, I got sold carrots, man. I had the state championship label.
Yeah.
I had a black belt. I thought I was the coolest guy in the world. And I got my butt handed to me by somebody who had been training 2 months. And
what
I was
makes
like,
a big difference where you get that black belt from?
Right? Oh, 100%, right? Yeah. So this opened my eyes to like, okay, I need to learn more. So then, I joined Wing Chun and I felt confident in my time there. Went to a jiu-jitsu school, same exact scenario. I got my butt handed to me. I had zero groundwork game. So I needed to learn that, right? So then I learned jiu-jitsu, and then it just started stacking up. And throughout the years, I studied 9 different martial arts, including like Tai Chi, Aikido, Kempo karate, like Okinawan karate, Taekwondo, all this stuff.
I didn't even know there was a difference in karates.
Oh, there's there's a lot. It's like, there's a lot.
It doesn't surprise me, but yeah.
Yeah. So with that, it opened my eyes that you have to have a collective, right? You don't go to college and learn from one person. You want to learn from the spectrum, for lack of better words. And so when I built my school out, that's what I wanted. I wanted the experts in their field. I wanted to find the best tutors. I wanted to find the best martial art instructors. I wanted to find the best homeschool program instructors. I wanted to work with the best because I felt an obligation to deliver the best to the community. And so it's kind of like the same framework, for lack of better words, that I'm bringing to Boise Impact Group is let's bring the best of the best together. We all have huge hearts for the community. We are here local, and let's just help where we can. Let's bring our knowledge to pass the torch to the next generation ultimately.
What's the best way that you're finding it for you to get the word out for what you guys are for? Because I know, so I've known Sterling for probably, man, I think since November. I think right before you started, I went to your BNI group, and it was funny when me and Sterling met. Was actually he did his presentation before me.
Wait, you're BNI?
I was. I'm not now.
What one was it?
Prime time. And for anyone watching who's not familiar with the BNI, it's a networking group. I think it stands for like Business Networking International.
Yes.
Yeah. And so it's just a great opportunity for like, early stage businesses.
That's how we know each other.
Awesome, man. Yeah. So if you want to make a name for yourself, go network.
That's a good start. BNI is a great start.
Great
start. And so when I went to prime time in the morning, he spoke because he was a member of the group. I was a visitor. And when he got up and he said, I'm a coach. This is what I do. We're going to be launching something soon. I'm excited. And he said a couple jokes and people were like, oh, look, it's Sterling. He looks like a prom king, or that's Thor or something. I was like, I'm interested. So I did a one-on-one. So I sent him a one-on-one, but then I got up and did my spiel. And when I visit chapters, I'm like, hey, Brandon Johnson with MEI Coaching, where I motivate, educate, and innovate. Right now, you guys are looking a little tired, so go ahead.
Every week.
Go ahead and stand up and give me 2 classes and a Ric Flair, right? And I'm like, woo! And I looked over at Sterling and I just saw a big old smile. He's like, yeah. And we went on our first one-on-one at Lucky Perk, and we scheduled it for an hour and ended up talking like 3 hours.
Cool.
So I was like, heck yes.
Right on.
Yeah. So with the Boise Impact Group, what I'm noticing is like, so the question was, how are you wanting to get the word out that more businesses, like, this is an option for them, right? And this might not be the best option, but it could be an option. So correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure you said in the past that your guys' capacity is not startups. They have to be well established, right? Mm-hmm. But what is the like the one hook that you would want to get out there for businesses who are looking for exactly what you guys offer?
Yeah, so I don't know that I have a one hook per se, because we have a wide net of people that we help, right? I'm challenging a lot of what's considered the norm right now. And if you guys have ever known me in the past, like I am a challenger. Mm-hmm. You guys ever do the Myers-Briggs? Yeah. The personality type? Yeah. I'm a challenger, man.
Nice. Yeah. Is that the one that's like the red, blue, yellow, the 4 squares?
No, that's disc.
Yeah. Oh, what's the Myers-Briggs one?
So it's like
I'm trying to remember what that was.
It's the numbers. So you can be like a number 2, like peacekeeper kind of thing, or like a number 8.
Gotcha.
Yeah. They give you numbers and a letter.
Yep, that's right. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So the challenger one, in short, my takeaway from it was I challenge authority to try to help the masses. And so when I see people being taken advantage of, like in the business community with different education programs, I'm like, oh hell no, not in my backyard, right? Yep. If you want to do that in Florida, whatever, I don't care, but Idaho's mine. So I want to protect it. So with that, I'm challenging a lot of the education that's out there for business owners right now. And of course, it makes sense when there's an easy button attached to it, right? I have to spend $97 to get access to this program, and I'm going to make all the money in the world. Not to throw anyone under the bus, but like the 10X programs, for example, it's like, sign up for my sales coaching and you're going to make millions of dollars. You're going to be flying around in helicopters with Grant Cardone.
You're going to dominate the market.
Yeah. I don't think so. and there's just a disconnect there in experiencing it myself, right? So with that, I'm challenging the education that's out there. I'm trying to give an opportunity for business owners to realize that there truly is something for them. It's not a spaghetti on the wall approach. It's not a cookie cutter approach. Most coaches, for lack of better words, come in with the answers, but never take time to ask the questions. And our format, the first 3 months, is all uncovering the reality of the situation. And I'm sure you guys know, and anybody watching, if you've ever asked a business owner, how's business? What do they say?
It's great. It's going fantastic. Yeah. And then when they turn around, they're like crying internally.
Yeah. When you start peeling back the layers, right? If you get through
onion,
you get through the ego and you get into that state of vulnerability. Now they're telling you like, hey man, I'm having a hard time paying rent, or hey, I let my employees go because we don't have the sales coming in to support the team. Yeah. And when you get into that real raw state of conversation, now we could build, right? Equating it back to, again, martial arts. We used to have people come in every single week for open fight night, throw their bag down. Same kind of stuff I did when I was 19. I'm state champion. I'm this, I'm that. My favorite was I'm a pro MMA fighter, and their head to toe tap out. And they'd come in like trying to make a name for themselves. Yeah. And I'd be like, well, why don't you start off with the teenagers and we'll see if you can work your way up to the adult ring. And usually our like 12, 13-year-old like girls were beating the snot out of these dudes. Right?
Awesome.
Dude, it was wild. There was a quick side story. One student of ours, she was 17 at the time. An adult came in trying to make a name for himself. And she literally took him up against the wall at the school and was bouncing his head off the concrete wall, like strikes, like punches and elbows. And you could hear the first contact and then the second of the head bouncing.
That's awesome.
It was awesome, dude.
Did he ever come back?
Yeah, he signed up for class.
Oh, my goodness. Cool. Okay.
Dude, yeah.
Okay. So it broke through the ego.
He did. Man.
Okay, cool.
He get beat up by a 17-year-old girl. I hope you're willing to.
Well, it's going to be one of the two. Either you're like, I need to be here, or I never want to see any of these people ever again.
Dude,
it's going to be one of the two.
Yeah. Oh, no, that's awesome.
That's awesome. So when you said you're challenging the norm of like the education portion, like give me something more specific. Like how, if I was to come to you or another business owner to come to you, like what is setting you and the Boise Impact Group apart specifically in changing the norm?
Yeah.
Like what's specific about what you're doing?
Yeah, great.
Like sell me on that.
Yeah, great question. So our board really is a powerhouse behind it, right? And with the board of directors, they are the local experts. They've lived their world for 20 to 30 years. I'm going to kind of paint a picture here real fast. One of the members of our board, his name's Bob. He works in construction. He has this incredible boots to suits story that he coined, right? And it's just an awesome human being inside and out. He has the biggest heart to give those around him. He has this vision of what trades looks like in Idaho. Where's the standard, right? If you're going to be a plumber, for example, how do you operate as a plumber? If you're going to be a home inspector in Idaho, you don't need a license. You could go down to the Secretary of State, register as a home inspector, and then tomorrow be inspecting homes with zero training.
No kidding.
100%.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That is scary.
It is 100%.
Side business.
Yeah. I didn't hear that.
Thanks, Sterling. Not only is he giving us educational advice, but motivating us to make more money.
Right. So as far as what we're challenging and bringing to the table that nobody else does is an accredited board of directors. So as a business, if accepted into Boise Impact Group, not only do you get your classroom curriculum that helps drive and educate you as a business owner, but then you get the accountability and support of your class plus the guidance and direction of the board. So, kind of put it in frame, Bob, having been 30 years in trades, running an amazing company with a guy named Nick, they get to help you in your plumbing business, right? Let's say you're making 100,000, but you want to make like 4.5 million so you could do the big thing that you want to do, right? Mm-hmm. The time and money freedom. They've built that. So when it comes to questions of like bidding on jobs, hiring subcontractors, understanding the contracts behind the jobs that you're bidding on, all of that stuff they get to guide you through, right? If you hire a sales coach, they've probably never done that. Sure. You know what I mean?
So it's more industry specific.
100%.
So let's say I'm a plumber and I'm signing up and Bob's kind of my guy.
Oh yeah.
How much one-on-one time, or how much time am I getting with Bob? Or I guess the entire board or whatever it is. Like how much time are you getting with the people that matter?
Yeah. So that's something that's really cool about the way that we structured this out is in that first 3 months where we're peeling back reality and figuring out the truth of who you are and who your business is, you get to spend that one-on-one time with the board. And so they all have these what's called introductory offers. And so Bob steps in and works with you one-on-one in your business to better understand it. But then you also have like Shara, who's our marketing director, step in behind, who's worked on global businesses in the past, like multi-billion-dollar stuff, running millions of ads. Like to have her expertise look at you in a plumbing company and go, hey, what's your strategy? What works effective? If you're like, well, I'm going to sign up with this company who's going to charge me $6,000 for Google's ads, she's going to say, you can't afford that. You're making $100,000 a year right now. Like that ain't going to happen. So let's talk more realistically, right? So that one-to-one time that you get with them starts immediately. And then that continues throughout the journey. We have these checkpoints in different stages ultimately throughout the year that you get to visit with the board and get their direct input. And then right now, currently, because we are early in building this out, the board is active in helping facilitate the groups as well. So the classes, we call them groups, but they're essentially classes.
So let's touch on that. How frequent is that? What does a class look like? What does a group look like?
Yeah, great. So let's stick with the trades for a moment, right? Sure. So let's say you're like signing up for Trades 101. You're making between $100,000, $500,000 per year. Maybe you got an employee or two, but that's not the end goal. You want to get up to making that 4.5 million, right? So when we evaluate your business through the application process and we interview you, we're going to best figure out what class you would fit in. Is it Trades 101? Is it Trades 301? You know what I mean? Where are you at in your experience in business? Is this your first business or is this your seventh business and you're just getting traction in Idaho? What does that look like ultimately? So when we figure out what class you're in, that class is compiled about 4 to 6 other business owners that are also in trades in your same bracket of business too. So what I mean by bracket of business is if you're in startup mode, for example, again, you're learning how to like structure your business, different pool of problems than somebody who's already making $1 million a year. They're focused more on like market penetration and things of that nature. So we want to make sure that if you're in a room to learn from a group of people, that you're surrounded by people who are also in that same stage of business with you. So there's a pure accountability that comes from that as well. So if I'm asking, Bob, for example, for guidance, and he is like, well, that's a great question. I might get Steve across the table from me, go, well, actually, I just dealt with that. Like, let me give you my personal experience, or here's who I use for my marketing, or whatever the case may be. So there's a lot of support that comes from that as well.
So within that, so if you've got Bob at the board of the directors, and you've got Steve and Joe who are in the class.
Yeah.
They're in the same bracket, they're doing the same thing, they're both in trades. Let's say they're both plumbers. Okay. How do you go about like them not wanting to compete against each other sort of thing? Or like how does that dynamic work? You know what I mean? Because now we're in the same bracket, the same field, the same industry, trying to do the same thing with the same pool of people.
100%. Yeah. I'm so glad you asked that question. So we're getting deep into this, and I love that because we're getting super into the details about the framework. With that, we only allow one business per se in that industry. So if you're looking at a trades class,
so similar to BNI,
one plumber, one electrician, one roofer, one person who does siding, one person who does tile. You know what I mean?
Gotcha. Okay.
So that way, there's no direct competition. So with that, you guys are working with the same customers at the end of the day, so you understand the lingo and things like that. And it's interesting because I get asked a lot of like, well, are you a networking group? And I, in the back of my mind, and correct me if I'm wrong or if you guys feel different about this, but I think if you own a business, you're inevitably networking. You know what I mean? Like you're looking for ways.
You have to be.
Yeah.
Right? You have to be.
Yeah.
The best way I've was told was one of my first workshops I ever put on when I first opened up my business. In order to pump me up on the way from my house to that area, everyone listens to music or they have their own little fancy.
Ooh, what's your go-to, man?
Reba McEntire, fancy.
No, it's not.
Yep. It's Reba McEntire, fancy one. I love you, Reba. If you're my lady. She ages like a fine wine. But anyway,
tell us how you really feel, man.
Right?
Hold on, dim the lights.
Sing it for me.
Dim the lights.
Now, come on, let's hear it.
So, and I'm getting there. Don't steal my thunder. Yes. But the thing that really got me going was the part, where she's like, "Here's your one chance, fancy, don't let me down." Right?
Yeah. You can tune that.
I
later,
was
right?
super excited, right? And I was like, "Heck yeah, Reba's my lady's singing to me." Yeah. I got my first workshop. I'm ready to rock and roll. And then I posted on social media because I was happy. I was excited. It's my first ever like check for as a business. And one of my buddies goes, "You do realize that song is about prostitution, right?" And I was like, "Well, now I do."
But I never knew that.
I didn't know that. And then I was like,
I didn't know that.
But it kind of makes sense. And he's like, what are you talking about? I was like, as a business owner, we're basically selling ourselves for a service of which we're given.
Yeah.
So here's your one chance, fancy. Don't let me down. Boom.
Yeah. Totally. Yeah.
Yeah. So not to hijack, but to hijack. I just thought that was like a perfect spot.
That adds a totally different perception to when people ask how much.
Okay, we're going to cut that out. We're going to take a break.
Depends on what corner or what alley they're talking to.
I regret inviting Sterling on this episode already. I was like, come on.
You're the one who brought up Reva, bro.
I was loving this. So let's keep it going. Yeah.
Who would be your song? Who's your motivation song?
I don't know if I had a motivational song. To be honest, I don't know if I've ever had like, that's the song I need to listen to.
Okay, what about you?
Dude, all right. No judgments. I'm a 90s baby.
We listen and don't judge.
100% Pokemon theme song.
Really?
All day long, dude. Like, dude, I don't even know what it is about that song. There's something nostalgic.
Wait, there's a song? I thought it was just sounds. Like,
Are you talking about the theme song?
The theme song, bro. Like, if I need a pump, I put on the Pokemon theme song.
So you know what's funny about that? If I have one, I used to do this back in the day for my strongman competitions. Mm-hmm. One of the songs I listened to get me pumped up was the Lion King song.
Wait, which one?
The main theme song.
Oh
God! Pink and pajamas. You're making fun of me?
Yeah.
Oh God!
Pink pajamas, penguins on the bottom.
Is that what it's?
That's not what it says.
That's totally what it says. Look it up.
No,
I'm pretty sure.
Okay. Well, if I can't find,
I said it, so it must be true.
If I can't find, if I can't find fancy, then it's Wilson Phillips.
I don't know what that is.
Yeah.
Hold on for one more day. Things will go your way. Boom, boom, boom. Things will go your way.
No, I don't think I've ever heard that.
Keep going. Keep going.
Hold on for one more day.
Give me another 30 seconds. I might know.
I know when things will change, but no. Oh my gosh, I fell for it.
When did that song come out?
88. Okay. I think 88, 89.
Yeah.
Wilson Phillips, man.
I don't know who that is.
It's just three, I think sisters or three ladies. It's what the young kids call a banger.
Wow.
I'm hip. I'm hot.
I don't think you know what a banger is.
I don't.
Yeah.
I don't.
No.
Anyway, so
Banger's
as we
mash,
were,
maybe,
yeah. So you got the Lion King. Let's do that. Yeah, the Lion King of all songs.
It's a good song.
I don't know if I've ever heard the Pokemon theme song though. Is it like Pokemon
It's the
Go?
Colors of the Wind or something like that, right?
No, that's Pocahontas, bro.
That's Pocahontas.
Oh, wait. Wow, this is going off the rails. So the whole time I'm thinking Pocahontas, and I'm like, you do you, boo boo, whatever.
Yeah.
Oh, Colors
you
of
said
the Wind.
Pokemon.
Yeah.
The Pokemon.
Yeah, that's it.
That makes more sense.
I heard it. And I have crap hearing.
I heard it, but it translated to Pocahontas in my mind for some reason.
We're definitely going to turn that into a clip.
If you guys are watching this episode, stop immediately and go listen to the Pokemon theme song. You'll know exactly what I'm talking about.
So, were you a Pokemon kid?
Oh, hell yeah, man. I still got my cards.
Nope.
Oh, you're too old.
I was I played Pog.
So did I.
I did Pogs.
I was a Pog champion, by the way.
By yourself?
No, like in tournaments.
Oh.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't remember how you play. I was a Digimon guy.
Oh,
do you remember Digimon?
Oh, bro. I got some Digimon.
Loved talk about a theme song.
Yeah.
Digimon was where you don't know what that is, do you?
That was a good theme song, bro.
Yes. That was a great theme song. So Digimon was like complete Digimon, right?
Yeah.
Was a competitor to Pokemon back in like the early 2000s.
Yeah.
And so essentially it was these little monsters that are in the digital world, like the Matrix. And then sometimes the humans crossed over and the Digimon would cross over.
Listen, when you were in diapers and doing that, I was in Iraq defending your freedom.
All right, it's not a competition, bro.
Yeah, hold on.
We're talking childhood nostalgia.
Yeah. No, I'm just kidding. No, I never heard of Digimon. I only heard of Pokemon.
Yeah. And Digimon is easier to remember because every one of the monsters ends in Mon.
Okay.
There was like Pygmon or something like that.
There'd be like Ghostmon or Dormon. Like it was really stupid names.
My favorite was Lady Mon.
There you go. Yeah.
That makes me think of the Power Rangers, the Yellow Ranger. Beautiful.
Oh,
no, the Pink Ranger.
Yeah.
Was it
Kimmy?
Kim. Pink.
Yeah, Kimmy.
Yeah, Pink.
Yeah. I was always a Black Ranger fan.
Yeah.
No, Pink.
I like
more salmon.
No, it was pink. It was straight up pink. I still have, I think my dad has it. I had an old school Power Rangers poster, like cardboard poster. I still have it somewhere. Yeah, probably worth like $10 or something.
Hey, how do you feel about wrestling? WWF, WCW.
Yeah, WWE. I mean, it's entertainment. It's World Wrestling Entertainment. Is it real? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, of course it's real.
Yeah, it's real.
I mean, we all know it's real. Hold on.
Well, I asked the question because when WrestleMania came out, Tyler was hosting a WrestleMania party, and the rule was if you showed up, you had to be one of your. You had to be a wrestler. Who'd you show up
as?
Jim Duggar, not Jim Duggar. Duggan. Hacksaw Jim Duggan. Hacksaw Jim Duggan.
So he's a guy from like the 80s, 90s. He came out with like a 2x4
for American flag, and he always says, "Hey-oh!"
Very redneck looking.
Hell yeah.
My rhinestone robe wouldn't shown up on time from Temu, so I couldn't go as Ric Flair.
We had a Macho Man Randy Savage there. Yep. We had a Rock there.
Yep. So why don't you dress up for the podcast in that, man? Like to brand it up.
Just show up as what?
Ric Flair? He didn't have. I thought you were talking about the hacksaw.
No, Ric Flair.
He didn't have a shirt on for that.
Yeah,
so,
I was like, I can show up as a Hacksaw Jim Duggan next episode.
It'd be R-rated at that point.
Well, I don't know who your audience is, bro.
We'd have a parental
advisory. We got a large net.
Yeah.
We're still testing the waters on our audience.
Yeah.
So real quick, you said you had 7 different businesses, right? Prior to Impact Group.
Yeah.
So one was the education.
6. This is my 7th.
Okay, so this is 7th. Yeah. So one was the education center.
The academy. So that was a big one.
What was the previous 5 to that?
Yeah. So I dabbled around in like some marketing and advertising stuff early on. I was presented with an opportunity to open up a cell phone store when I was 19. And so this was like a first brick and mortar.
Sprint?
No. So cell phone repair technically, which was a freaking money making machine, by the way. So this was like 2007, 2008, somewhere in that time frame. And it was incredible. It was absolutely incredible. So we were making like $1,000 a day. It was stupid how much money goes through that business model.
That's quite a bit.
Side hustle.
Well, and when the iPhone first came out, like the digitizers were glass. And so they broke like crazy, right? And so
that's business number 2 that we've gotten from this. So keep taking notes.
So the part cost me like $3, and I would charge $100 to replace it. But I had a 24-hour turnaround time, right? Yeah. So people drop off their iPhone, and I hope you guys remember the iPhone came out. Like, what a big deal that was.
Oh yeah.
So to be without it for 24 hours
killed people.
Sucked, right?
They were like,
but little did they know that it took 10 minutes to swap those things out. So I'd swap it out real quick, 10 minutes. I'd sit around for another 30, 40 minutes and call them and say, hey, you're in luck. I got your phone done for you today. And you can swing by and pick it up anytime. So they're only without their phone for an hour, right?
Yeah.
Which was just marketing 101 because what are they inevitably going to do?
Wait. How are you calling people if you got their phone?
Well, I gave loaners.
Okay.
I gave loaners.
Smart.
I was like, they got multiple burner phones going on?
Well, it sounded back then they still had phones in their houses. It was the early 2000s, he said.
Yeah.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah, mid 2000s.
I guess I forget about landlines.
Yeah, landlines.
Yeah, so
what's a landline? No, I'm just kidding.
The dinosaur over here.
Yeah, a payphone.
Yeah.
And then the other businesses I built on early on were more like character behavior development for like early childhood education. So I would work with like daycares, for example, and I would go in and I'd work with the kids before they go off to school, right? You know, they're 4, 5, 6 years old, haven't quite enrolled in public school yet. And so I would help them with things like, you know, attention span, focus, obviously, respect, integrity, confidence, stuff like that.
So do what you're doing now. Like, so no degree or anything. Just straight out of high school, graduate high school.
Graduate high school, Meridian High, class of 06.
Go
Warriors.
And so just straight into
business,
kind of doing what you're doing now.
I did go to BSU for business communications. I did what they called a walk-on program back then. So I got to go into the classes, participate as a student, and do like an audit essentially. So I would give feedback, but papers got graded. Everything was the same. I just didn't exit with a piece of paper that said I graduated essentially. Yeah, so I got the education, which is all I wanted in the first place. I don't need a piece of paper to tell me I can run a business. You know what I mean?
Well, and I'm glad you actually brought that up because I know I'm running into it with my son. He's going into his senior year and he's at a pinnacle decision. What route is he going to go after high school? Right. And one of the questions, and it kind of sucked when he asked me. So one of the questions that he asked me was, do I join the military? And I was like, I understand that I did it. Your granddad did it. Your great granddad did it. And pretty much all the dads or all the men on my side did it, and it seems like the history is going to stop with me, which is perfectly fine. But right now, absolutely not.
Yeah.
The second question he asked me, do I want to go to college? And I asked him, what do you want to do? And he was like, well, I don't know if I want to do business, and I don't know if I want to do architect, and I don't know if I want to be a graphic designer or any of that. And I was like, well, you got to figure that out before you're going to waste money. And then the third one was, I might want to do trades. And I was like, if you do anything, do trades. And I was like, if you want to own a business, and this is where I want to get both of your guys' input, I feel that as a business owner, you would get more education for less money that's more impactful by networking, acting on an idea that you want to sell or a service you want to provide, than you would spending $40,000 to $100,000 sitting in a classroom.
So I'll go and I'll answer this first. I'll give you an opportunity here. So that's obviously what I do. I'm in a trade, right? So I didn't go to college, have a degree or anything. And I'm very much on the side of that trade vocational school type route for multiple reasons. Exactly what you're saying. You can get to that entrepreneur stage a lot quicker than going the traditional university route, getting the diploma not diploma, but degree for something you're probably never going to use anyway. You're going to save yourself a ton of money, a ton of time. And then also with the way the world's going with AI and stuff like that, a lot of those jobs, the trade jobs are going to be in higher demand anyway.
Yep.
You have a lot less people that are doing the blue collar type jobs, and those are going to be in more demand because nobody's going to know how to do them.
Well, think about how the blue collar jobs were advertised when we were
back when we
teenagers
were
and
growing
growing
up, it was do the white collar stuff.
Yeah,
it was go
college.
It was do the computer thing. It was be a graphic designer or an engineer or whatever it was, and nobody went. There were the plumbers, the electricians, the flooring guys, the roofing guys. They were looked down upon because they were too dumb to do anything else. Right? That was the consensus. When really they were probably the smart ones because they didn't go $100,000 in debt to do something they could have done without a degree anyway.
Yeah. Right? Well, and so within my time in the service, I got my bachelor's degree of Homeland Security Emergency Management. I got that degree because I was in law enforcement, and they're like, you have to get a degree in order that complements your career in the military in order to help you promote. So I was like, okay, cool. I believed the lie. I got that. And then as soon as I got that, I was like, I don't know if I want to be a cop on the outside, but I want to be able to cast a large net. And they're like, well, the next industry that would be available would be healthcare. And I was like, okay, I'll get an MBA in healthcare administration because I love leading and I love operations and processes and just being able to like talk to people and stuff. And then I got that master's degree and I was like, okay, now what? And everyone was like, well, now that you got a master's degree, the only type of thing that you can go up to now is a doctorate. And I was like, hell no.
And are you doing anything with the master's degree?
No.
Right.
But the thing is with the doctorate degree, I was like, hell no, I'm not doing that until I was doing my annual review and I set it up to one of my mentors in the military. And I was like, hey, will you look this over? And he's like, yep. And he looked it over, made changes, and I ended up getting promoted that year. But I looked at it after it already went through and everyone saw it and everyone signed it and it came back to me for final signature. And in there for self-improvement, it said, has enrolled in a doctorate program at Liberty University. And I was like, what is this? He goes, oh, you don't proofread the stuff when I send it to you? I said, no, because you're a good writer. I didn't expect you to add doctorate in there. He goes, well, are you going to falsify a government document or are you going to go to college? And I was like, I already went to college, a lot of college. He goes, well, it looks like you're going to be a doctor, like get your doctorate. So I enrolled into my doctorate degree and I've gone, I think it was 3 years into my doctorate for DBA, doctorate in business administration for strategic organization and management. And I was like, I liked it, but then I was like, I wonder if we can really apply this. And so when I was gathering data for leaders about the transitioning of military members out of the military who are separating and retiring, the lie that we were told was, hey, you're in the military and when it's your time and you leave, companies are going to throw 6 figures at you, guarantee, or high 90s. And I was like, I don't think that's true. But companies wouldn't talk to me until I owned a business. And then once I realized I owned a business and I networked, I was like, that's where the education's at. And I wish I would have saved my money on being able to network.
The education is the networking portion and then just doing the damn thing.
Yeah. Like, and failing, not being afraid to fail.
Well, there's that, but just like doing the thing, getting doing the bootstrapping portion of it, boots to the ground, doing the thing, learning what you're doing, and doing, screwing things up and learning from those mistakes and like just learning the trade, learning what you're doing. That's how you get the education. A lot of times the vocational school is just to get that piece of paper at the end that says, hey, I completed this. Doesn't mean you know shit, right? Most people that come out of massage school don't know anything. They have to get that experience and go through that additional education or the additional networking or the additional mentorships and stuff like that.
But I think all of that highlights perfectly the kinesthetic aspect of education that's missing from the world.
Absolutely.
Everybody wants to tell you what to do. No one wants to show you how to do it.
Or the person who's teaching you, when was the last time they applied what they offered?
Oh yeah.
Right. And so like the one thing that irritates me, and I'm glad you talked about earlier, was about business coaches, is they'll go in and sell you a bag of goods, they'll over promise and under deliver. As long as they get paid, they're like, yeah, my coaching is great. And that irritates me because I think it's a slap in the face to those that are genuine in what they want to achieve. My approach is if I tell you to do something, I'm doing it with you. Why? Because I want to learn with you. And if you fail, I want you to know you're not failing by yourself.
That's results driven over money driven.
Yeah. There's a trickle down effect, both for the positive and the negative with that as well. Right. So if it's do as I say, not as I do, like that, eventually they're, like you said, overpromise, under deliver. Those business owners looking to get to that next level who are buying those programs are going to feel deflated. They're going to feel burned out. They're going to feel like no one out there really knows the answer, and it's just as good as it's going to get. And probably eventually close their business, not even sell it, just close their business. And so there's a negative trickle down with that, right? But if you're positioned in a way that you're getting authentic education and hands-on training, and you're building yourself in a way that is teaching you new skills to become the person necessary to run a business at the next level, the trickle down of that is it's a positive trickle down, right? Because now you're empowered and encouraged to be a better business owner. And inevitably what you want to do, the right person is going to pass that down to their team. They're now looking for internal promotions and bring their managers up to then run the business so they could step out of it and start working on it instead of in it. So there's both good and bad from that. So I think if you guys are a business owner watching the podcast, be very mindful of the person that you're giving the keys of your business to.
Oh, absolutely.
And it's almost like he knows what's going on with my business.
Right.
Like, that's exactly where I'm at right now. Like, I'm getting to that point where, like, how do I step away? Because I'm a massage therapist, right?
Yeah.
So how do I step away from being the business? Because that's what it is right now. I'm
100%.
the business.
Yeah.
How do I step back and quit being the clinician and be the CEO?
Yeah.
Right. And they don't. I guess that's one of the things they don't teach you, like in your vocational schools, that you're not going to learn if you don't have that mentorship. Or you're doing that networking portion. Is you don't know when and how to step away from being the product.
Totally.
Right. I am the product. My business is not, it's not sellable. It's not scalable with me doing that. Period.
Is your processes repeatable without you there?
Currently, I mean, it's getting there, right? That's the phase I'm in. Is that's what we're trying to build. Like our new facility we have over Meridian, like that's what I'm building towards. And I'm doing that very early on in my business, right? I've been in business for less than a year and a half. I'm already scaling to that point, trying to get to the point where if I have to, it can operate without me, right? And so I can be that CEO. So in 20 years from now, I have something I can sell. It's scalable. It's repeatable, right? It's not, I'm not just the product. The business is the product. And it doesn't matter if it's me or Joe or Kevin. It can be repeated, right? And they don't teach you how to do that.
There's a danger in that. If I could do a quick side rant
Go for it.
on it.
Yeah,
so
of course.
Looking at the state of the economy in America right now, private equity, like VC money, holy crap. If you guys own a franchise, I'm not a fan of franchises for a lot of reasons, because I don't think they have your best interest in mind. There's horror stories out there, if you guys look for it, franchisees building and scaling this business, and then the franchisor coming in and taking that away from them. There's buyout clauses in those contracts.
Gotta read the contracts.
You could scale a franchise to 10 million plus a year, and your buyout clause might be $100,000. And so once you hit that point of success and you feel like you're providing for your family and your employees' families, then the franchisor comes in and is like, hey, thanks. We're going to go ahead and activate that clause and take the business away from you ultimately. And there's not a damn thing you could do about it.
Step in and take it.
Right. Yeah. So that's franchises, right? But when it comes to like private equity, the amount of, and speaking on trade specifically, the amount of firms that have been created in the last few years specifically to purchase mom and pop blue collar businesses is terrifying. And what they're doing is they're driving this massive wedge between the small business community and the elite, the VC money, right? Because what they're doing is they're coming into markets and saying, hey, Steve, you have a great plumbing business. And after evaluation, we recognize it's only worth $20,000. And you might be thinking, well, I make $3 million a year. Yeah, but it's only worth $20,000. You don't have a turnkey business. You have a job that you created for yourself. But I tell you what, today's your lucky day. We're going to give you $100,000 for it. And then what are you going to do? How do you say no to that, right? If you're 65 years old, they're coining it the silver tsunami. It's all the boomers exiting their businesses. And who's buying it up? Not us. Mm-mm. It's all going to VCs.
Because we don't have the money.
Right. Mm-hmm. But or the know-how.
Or the know-how. Or the awareness.
Yeah. And what's also, I'm glad you brought up the silver tsunami, because what's happening also, it's not just affecting the businesses, it's affecting the farms, especially around the Napa Caldwell area, is these farms are getting bought up because their kids don't want to do the farm.
It's where I'm from, Mountain Vale.
Yeah.
Very prominent out there.
Yeah. Which sucks. Selling to bigger companies. At the same time, you can't blame the owner, because if they built something that they're proud of and their family doesn't want it, would they sell it to get the money, some money, or do they let their dreams die?
At least with that though, like they're selling land, they're selling equipment, like there's something to sell. Yeah. Whereas like just the trade business, there's not usually that stuff.
Well, even on the land side of things, right? Mm-hmm. Like when you look at Idaho as a whole right now, who's buying all the land? Not us.
No. Right.
It's outside money.
Yeah.
Who's buying all the houses right now? Like the massive amount of inventory that we have sitting vacant to artificially inflate. Like
this is the hottest real estate market back-to-back years.
Yep.
Is it still? It still is. It's on. Well, it's on track because obviously we're only halfway through the year, but it's on track. And it's funny. There are 16,000. I think the last time I checked, there's 16,000 registered realtors in the state of Idaho.
Jeez.
Only 4,000 sold homes last year.
Yep. Yeah.
That is ridiculous.
But
the fact is it's the hottest market. The price of the medium price of a house is anywhere between $450,000 and like $700,000. But Idaho still has the national minimum wage,
right. Yeah.
Which by all means, if you're going to keep it cool, it's a minimum wage job. It's meant to be for minimum wage. It's not to be a career.
Right?
Start on minimum wage.
But the whole point is, like you're getting into, and this is why I really wanted you on here, because I love what you're doing and the Boise Impact Group is doing, is that we, the people, have to understand, how do we combat the price of cost of living?
Yeah.
Because the cost of living in Idaho has gone up, but the wages have not.
Yeah.
And it's not fair to people like yourself who are native and born here and raised and love this place, to where we're like, cool, I can't afford a house. Why am I in a rental? But yet this California family came in and they bought 5 homes, cash money.
Yeah.
You know, when we bought a house in 21, we looked at 13 houses. And out of those 13 houses, we put in, I think, offers in on 7 of them. And all of them got all but one
cash offers.
Yeah, and this one beautiful house we saw was like $350,000. It was 6 bedrooms, 3.5 bath. It was beautiful. Yeah. And it was $350,000. We went at it like $390,000, maybe $400,000.
That's cheap.
So we went up. Yeah. Right. And I'm not even kidding. The owner or the seller saw that we were a VA, first time home buyer, and denied us and was like, we're not done with VA. And then our realtor told us that somebody came in 3 days later and paid $475,000 for that cash money.
That's wild.
They were selling for $350,000.
Mm-hmm. And now that house is now worth $710,000.
Where was that one at? Was that Napa?
Yeah.
That's wild, man.
And I was like, that makes me mad. I'm not even from here. Yeah. I'm a resident now, so go Idaho. But
how long you lived here?
6 years.
Okay, I have a rule of 10.
Okay.
So quick side note, anyone watching, do not say you're Idahoan unless you've lived here for 10 years.
Okay. So here's my thing. I say I'm from here, but I'm from Vail.
Okay. Yeah, Vail, Oregon.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's same desert, bro.
Right,
same desert.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Well, then
when people ask if you're from here, I'm like, I mean, I'm basically Malheur County is essentially.
Well,
Idaho.
I'm from Spokane. That's close enough to Coeur d'Alene.
That's not, bro.
Doesn't count.
It's the same as Ontario.
No, it's not.
Vail's close enough. Although you guys do have a few extra luxuries that we don't in Idaho and Oregon.
Like what? Like which ones?
Gotcha.
All right. So when I'm talking to people, I'm from Vail. They're like, Colorado. I was like, do you know where Ontario is at?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I know where Ontario is.
Canada,
of course
bro.
you do.
Yeah.
I'm like 10 miles away from that.
Quick side story. We were in a room together I think you were there for this, right? It was oh, maybe you weren't there that day. Anyway, it was like a lunch and learn kind of get together, a little mastermind networking group thing. And this guy I'm talking to, and I'm like, oh, well, where are you from? And he's like, well, the C word. And I was like, Colorado? And he was like, no, the other one. I was like, Connecticut? And he's like, no, the other C word. And I was like, bro, you don't seem Canadian. And he was like, no, California. And I was like, just say it.
Just say it. Say it with your chest, bro. Yeah. It's so funny. I've heard people who come from California to these to Idaho and Utah and Montana. The first thing they like to do is take off their California plates.
Yeah.
Because they're like, I don't want anyone to know I'm from California.
Yeah. You know those are the good ones when they take the California plates right off.
Yeah.
The ones that keep them on.
Oh, bro.
Those are the ones you got to watch out for.
Asking for it.
Yes.
Yes. This is back to the Spokane thing.
Yeah.
It's the Washington people that drive me nuts.
Yeah.
A lot of times.
I haven't lived in Washington in 20 years. Does that count?
Yes.
Darn it.
No. Well, okay. Wait. Yeah. Did you come here with Washington plates?
No.
Okay.
Came here with German plates, Turkish plates.
Even better.
On your vehicle?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Did you keep those?
I think so. They're in my garage.
I totally kept those. That's cool.
Well, no. Legally, I had to turn them in.
That's right.
Oh, yeah. You destroyed those, right?
Yeah, I destroyed them because I had to.
Do with them. Yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
The government totally watches this podcast.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, totally. Not yet.
It's the Chinese. I thought.
Dude, I want to go back to what we were talking about earlier, though. Like in the state of the local economy here, right? Like, period. At the end of the day, no one's coming to save us.
Nope.
Like Idaho has to save Idaho, and as much as I appreciate the effort that the local government does, I don't trust the government. Mm-hmm. I don't think anyone at Idaho trusts the government. That's why we live here, right? Yeah. But at the end of the day, it's like the state of economy that we have, there's this big divide going on. Medium business doesn't exist anymore. That middle class isn't there, right? So we have a lot of, again, to my point earlier, a lot of people starting business for the first time. And we have new business moving here. If they're more educated and set up more financially to take over the market, they're going to inevitably, right? So the whole mission behind Boise Impact Group, why are we educating businesses? I want to encourage and empower local business owners through education, like real education, to be in a position that they could buy those businesses, right? They understand what the end goal is. And so if you have the know-how, and because you're running a real business and have the financial backing behind it, you are in a position to where you're loanable and you can start to purchase those small businesses that are going up for sale instead of all of those businesses going to the VCs, because that's inevitably what's going to happen if we don't step up. And I don't think we're not stepping up because a lack of desire or drive. We just genuinely don't know how, because we're being sold bullshit programs for that.
And it's the education and that's why I think the Boise Impact Group should be and will be. I truly believe it will be a staple on how businesses become educated on how to scale their business or buy the business, but not buy it to flip it and make a quick buck, but buy it to run it but with Idaho values. And totally. And the best thing that I like about Idaho is when people are like, what do you like about Idaho? I'm like, it's Texas of the North, but a little bit better. And I love Texas. I think Texas is awesome, but I like Texas is known for a lot of things. Idaho, if you ask anybody, you're like, oh, I'm from Idaho. And they're like, oh, potatoes or Napoleon Dynamite. And I'm like, actually, I forgot about I am telling you 100% that Idaho, I've never been able to walk down a street in downtown Napa, even though it's not very big, which is awesome, but I don't have to worry about my car. I don't have to worry about crime. I don't have to worry about homelessness, right? Me and my daughter, we went up to Spokane, and this is the first time in a couple of years she's been up to Spokane, and we went downtown, and it was just inundated with a crap ton of homeless folks. And she was like, what are these? And I was like, this is homeless folks.
What are those?
Yeah. I'm like, this is zombies. And then she was like, she's like, but we don't have these in Napa. I said, because they regulate it a lot more.
Yeah.
So
I will say though, there was a period where our governor took all of our homeless and gave them free bus tickets.
Yes.
To Portland and Spokane and California.
Thank you. Thank you, Governor. I appreciate
that. Payette over there in Fruitland, if they come across from Ontario, Fruitland PD will pick them up. They're like, okay, you got two options. You're going to jail. I can take you back to Ontario.
Yeah.
I'll go back to Ontario.
Yeah.
So that actually leads me into another question. Is like, what do you see? What's the future of the Boise Impact Group? Where do you see it going? Like, what is? Yeah.
So in short, we're building a business college, and the West Coast doesn't really have a lot of options for like personal training like that. But I really want it to become the staple, and this is something Brandon and I clicked on almost immediately. I think it was our second one-to-one. We talked about making the Treasure Valley like a hub of education for business owners and to like boost the economy here as well through that, right? So we talked about a couple different ideas that are very much still in motion, but as far as the future of Boise Impact Group, like I want it to become the staple for accreditation on what a business is essentially. So to kind of put it in perspective, and I actually met with the CEO of the Better Business Bureau earlier today on being strategically aligned on how we could accomplish that, right? The BBB has its place, but their walls stop at a certain point, and that's where ours start. And so by working together, we could really, truly identify the businesses that are authentic and genuine and live by their core values and have the best interests of the community at heart. And what I've seen is a lot of those businesses coming to Idaho don't. Yep. They're here for one reason and one reason only, capitalize on the growth. And that's great to a point. But again, Idaho is very resistant to change. And we talk about it a lot, but who's actually doing something about it?
Well, and I think like you leaned on it. Idaho has been burned.
Oh, yeah.
Multiple times by millionaires, billionaires, and all this. Like you got, like, you're not going to change the way Idaho thinks.
Right.
The family-oriented values and the culture is not going to go away. The ability to believe in the country, believe in the Constitution, believe in just the nucleus of what we believe, what we grew up knowing, based on what America stands for. That is, and I truly believe, like, and I'm glad you said it, no one's going to come and save Idaho except for Idahoans. Yep. And this leads me into this question of, what is your one ask from your position to get out there to anyone listening or watching so they can share? What is your one ask for the people of Idaho to help the Boise Impact Group, but also what you want to turn it into?
In short, speak up at the end of the day. Like, Idaho is very opinionated, but there's right and wrong, and we all understand what's right and wrong. We for the most part have a good moral compass and understand what those ethics are. With the amount of people coming to Idaho and the new business starting, we're getting burned, right? New businesses may not be in a position yet because of lack of experience or education or understanding of how to treat our economy, really, right? So I get horror stories of, 80-year-old Betty who hired a contractor to come in and remodel their kitchen and completely botched everything. And Betty put her last little bit of savings into making her home what she wanted it to be, right? And this contractor takes advantage of her and nothing works and leaves, and that's the end of it, right? So now they're in a litigation battle. Or, another horror story I heard, not in Idaho, but along the same lines, is HVAC guy got hired by a grandma to come in and replace the HVAC unit and was not certified, licensed, or insured. It ended up causing a fire in the house.
Oh, wow.
And so she has to, she's displaced. She goes and lives in a hotel. And when she finally gets a hold of the business owner, he goes, oh, well, I don't have you on the schedule today, so it's going to cost you, a service call fee to come back out to the house and look at it. And if anything needs replaced, it's going to cost you as well. And she's like, no, dude, you burned my freaking house. You're going to come in and replace all of it for free. He wasn't licensed or insured. So, of course, that was a terrible situation, right? So stuff like this happens. But when I say speak up is if you see someone doing something wrong, I'm not advocating that we spread negativity, but draw a little bit of attention to it and not be like, hey, that guy's a piece of shit. Oh, sorry.
No, you're good.
All right.
We're adults here.
Yeah. We don't need to attack each other, but offer a hand and be like, hey, man, that's not how we do things here. Let's introduce you to the way Idaho does business.
Educate them.
100%, right? And come at it with open arms. Yeah. We've all been in that position, man. When I started my businesses early on, I had great people that taught me. And honestly, my customers and clients were the ones that taught me the best because they were like, hey, good job, but XYZ. And it was like, that to me was gold. And it's difficult to find that value of feedback because everyone wants to avoid conflict, right? Yeah. I don't want to upset someone. Well, sometimes you have to, right? If someone is mistreating our community, I'm not going to turn a blind eye to that. And not that I don't need to attack that person, but I'm going to be like, that person's a con artist.
Yeah.
Maybe don't give them your money because they're just going to steal it and run off.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So
just be aware of it.
Yeah. Speak up. And with that too, I really want to underscore the optimism and positivity behind that. When you see something being done well, speak up.
Yeah.
Shout it off the top of a mountain. If you had a great experience with a local company, get on Facebook and talk about it.
Google reviews is huge.
Yeah, absolutely. Right.
Google reviews is gold to me.
Right. And I love the idea of when I'm hanging out with all three of you or both of you guys and we're at networking events, what I really love is like all of us take the time to know, okay, where's your business? What's your business? How can we support you? Right. And those are the questions that we ask all business owners. Mm-hmm. And because all of our asks always constantly change.
Yeah.
But if we owned like a brick and mortar, like the one, I'll give a shout out to Gracie, who owns Elevate Nutrition off of Franklin.
Yeah.
She bought that at 19 and she's 21. She's owned it for 2 years. She's a small business. And she's like, she told me one time, she's like, I kind of need more customers. And I was like, that's all you had to say. And she goes, what do you mean? I said, I'm a chatty Cathy and I'll talk to everyone. I'll bring all my one-on-ones here and then they'll bring their one-on-ones here. And she just reported back that she said, I had the greatest month. I don't know if it was because of you. I don't know what happened, but I had the greatest month because so many people were coming there. And so, but it's that mentality because now she's more positive. And I was like, what do you need? And she's like, who needs me to talk about them?
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that's awesome. This is what you need to do. I was like, I got this coffee place. I got Fireside Pine. I got Top Tier. I was like, hey, how long you been in business? Refer them to Sterling, if the Boise Impact Group, if that's a suitable. Yep. And that's the one thing though. I would love to end on this is I love it that you are impactful in the fact that the investment has to be made in order for you to be intentional on your growth.
Yeah.
It's not to take money from you. It is to make you grow, but you have to give something to get something.
100%.
And that investment sometimes is a financial requirement, but more times it's also, you have to act, you have to be intentional and you have to be consistent. And that's what I love. And I feel like I know from the Boise Impact Group and all 7 of your board of directors.
Yeah. On that, to be mindful again, those of you guys listening or watching, if you're looking for a coach, take pause before giving someone more than $10,000.
Yep.
And again, I hear horror stories. There's the lady here locally. She spent $80,000 on a coach. $80,000.
Crap.
Don't look at me. She didn't hire me. So, my fees aren't that my fees aren't that expensive.
You're like, my prices just went up.
Yeah, I mean, hey, cost of inflation.
We need to have a talk.
Supply and demand.
But what did they get in return? The only golden nugget they got from that was you should probably get out and do some networking.
Wow.
Jeez. Yeah. So when you're thinking about giving someone, again, not only your money, but the keys to your business, you have to make smart decisions.
Yeah.
And so there's a phrase that I came across and I find truth in it over and over again. Follow the hype and you'll find the lies.
Yep. Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, man, this was awesome. Thank you for coming on.
Yeah, thank you.
Let everyone know where they can find you.
Yeah, so social media is great. Sterling Crawford. You guys can find me on Facebook and LinkedIn. If you guys are on Instagram, I'm Ninja Viking because I like to hike. More important, I like to hike barefoot. I'm one of those.
Cool.
Yeah.
And he has rocks in his pockets.
I do. Oh, yeah.
Barefoot.
Yeah.
So awesome.
No, awesome. Thank you again for showing up. This is awesome.
Appreciate it, guys. Thank you so much.
Cool. Thank you for listening to the Synergy Code podcast. If you haven't already, please subscribe and follow us on all platforms. To stay up to date with all things Synergy Code, follow us at the Synergy Code Pod on social media. Also, thanks to our main sponsors, Top Tier Massage Therapy and Performance Recovery, MEI Coaching, ProX Productions, and the Digital Unicorn.